Hello, and welcome to the new episode of the podcast from Firetop Mountain. I am Alison, Cybe, and I am joined today by Stuart, Lloyd. And this week we are playing Appointment with F.E.A.R. Stuart, say hello.
Hello, it's great to be here, or shall I say, it's great to be F.E.A.R.
That was terrible.
Thank you.
I kind of love it. Thank you. Okay, yes. Appointment with F.E.A.R is an interesting entry into the fighting fantasy franchise. I'm kind of looking forward to telling you all about it. But first, Stuart, would you like to introduce yourself a bit?
Yes, hello, I'm Stuart, and I've been writing the Lloyd of Gamebooks blog for over a decade now. And yes, I love gamebooks, and I create my own gamebooks, and my latest gamebook is a solo RPG system called Scrawl, and that's me.
Mm-hmm. And you are joined today by myself, Alison Cybe. I am a writer in the role-play game industry, working for companies including, or game lines including Starfinder, World of Darkness, and a whole load of other ones. Please do check us both out on Drive-Thru RPG. Stuart has his own book series available, which you should definitely check out. Today we are covering the Fighting Fantasy series by Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone, and we are playing the 26th, 27th, I want to say.
It's earlier than that. I think it's 17th.
Is it?
Or even 14th. I think we need to look this up.
Wow.
I wasn't prepared for this.
I remember it being a little bit later, but to be fair, this isn't one of the books I had as a kid. I didn't realise it was a superhero book. Yes, listeners, Appointment with F.E.A.R is a superhero fighting fantasy. The one and only, if you will.
It is, yes. It was 17. It was number 17 in the list.
Wow.
Yes, yes. So made in 1985. I thought I should mention the year because there's lots of references in the book that will date it rather well.
It is a little bit contemporary of when it was written. Surprisingly so. You kind of get the vibe that superhero genre things weren't where they are today. I'd say that's a fair assumption.
Definitely. It's it's heavily based on. I got the impression it was heavily based on the 1960s Batman.
It does feel that, yes. Your hero, who you are playing as, is I pronounce his name Jean. It might be John Lafayette. aka the Silver Crusader. Your mission in this adventure is to uncover the meeting of the terrorist organization F.E.A.R, the acronym there standing for the Federation of Euro-American Rebels, and defeat their villainous leader, the Titanium Cyborg. When I look at evil terrorist organizations with names that are acronyms like that, kind of makes me think. Obviously, you got like Hydra from the Marvel ones, but it also kind of puts me in mind of the old James Bond films as well.
Yes, with Spectre, the special executive for counter espionage, terrorism, revenge, and exploitation.
That's not how you spell Spectre.
Isn't it? Well, there you go. I can't be in it then. I can't be in a villainous organisation.
Oh, yeah, you have to spell the name right. Spectre. I remember in the 90s when I was younger, they had the James Bond cartoon, the one with like his kid nephew, and the evil terrorist organization in that one was called Scum.
Ah, yes. They really like making words with their acronyms. These organisations.
Oh yeah.
Yes, it's like maybe they automatically employ people. So, for example, F.E.A.R might not have had any American people, so they had to get some American people on board.
Makes
Otherwise,
sense.
otherwise it'd be called F.E.A.R, and that wouldn't be very. That would be very
terrifying.
Yeah, it would.
Not very scary. No. And one of the things I noticed that even before the adventure begins, you're given a full background on the character. They were the result of genetic experimentations to create the perfect superhero.
Yes, exactly. Yes, which is probably a superhero origin story from someone from a comic book. But yes, it's pretty good. I mean, and then you get a crime watch and become a superhero. It sort of makes me wonder why they stopped at 1, but there we go.
I think Batman has a crime watch.
I see. That's where it comes from, Batman.
Well, technically, like Dick Tracy had the crime watch in the old police crime comics, I think, wasn't it? And they all just kind of spun out from those kind of comics.
Yes, that is true. Yes. Yes, but yeah, I'm not an expert on those comics from then, but I'll take your word at it. I remember a Dick Tracy film.
Oh yes, with Warren Beatty.
Yes.
If they ever do an appointment with F.E.A.R film, they should definitely cast the young Warren Beatty as the Silver Crusader.
Yes, that would be good.
So, what did you think of the? Well, we'll get to what we thought of the adventure, but what did you think of the beginning? How did your playthrough of this adventure begin?
Well, you make a lot of choices before you actually start the adventure, really, because you have to choose your superpower, and then you have to choose some clues at random, which is something I'd forgotten about from whenever I'd read it, maybe 20 years ago.
Tell us about what options are available and which ones you chose.
Okay, so there is super strength, where you have super strength, and you can also fly. And I took that on my first playthrough because I rolled a skill of 8, and super strength gives you a skill of 13. So I thought I'm definitely going for a skill of 13. So there's that one. There's Cybe powers, where you have mental abilities, so you can read thoughts and you can control people and beings mentally. But that deducts stamina points.
Oh yeah.
So there's enhanced technological skills, which allows you to make lots of gadgets. So that's like your Batman with the utility belt. And then there's the energy blast, where you can blast people with energy, and that allows you to shoot people. That also drains 2 stamina points. So the quite powerful ones drain a couple of stamina points. And then each power gives you 2 clues to get, and you have a choice. The super strength one, you have to turn to one reference and then turn to one of the other 3. But then the other 3 powers, Cybe powers, you also turn to a reference and then choose one other. But then, an energy blast. In fact, it's ETS, you just pick 2 out of the 3. But you start with 2 clues, and that make it easier for you to find certain villains.
Yeah, because the villains in this one are kind of they're off having a meeting, and you're to basically kind of interrupt their conference, really. I guess you're to gate crash their party.
Exactly, you're a very rude superhero, aren't you? Yes, that's right.
So once you've selected your powers, you've got your clues. It begins. It is morning in the city, and you're given a fairly big selection of. I think I interpret you're given quite a big variety of possible routes that you can go down. A list of like courses of actions. Really just off the bat, you can head down the street on your way to work, because obviously your Jean Lafayette has a secret identity. He works in an office by day, or off in the distance you hear a police car speeding down the road, you have the option to follow that up. There is also a third option. A man and a woman are arguing in the middle of the road because the woman's dog has left a pile of mess in the street. Obviously, this option requires the attention of the Silver Crusader, don't you think?
Exactly. That's the first thing the Silver Crusader should be dealing with. That dog mess. It could get everywhere.
Yes.
Yes.
We should probably tell the listeners when I'm joking about these things.
We can do. We could have maybe we could have a sound effect, a little klaxon that goes off when you tell a joke.
Yeah.
And then that'll be like then everyone can laugh at the right time.
The strange thing is, in Appointment with F.E.A.R, so many of these options that I'm going to tell you are available. There would be no klaxon going off because these are actual options that are given in the adventure.
Yeah, they are. They're very mundane. A lot of them are very mundane, everyday options.
They are very. You're not exactly running out to be Captain America and take down Thanos, the all-powerful, at the start of this adventure, are you?
No, exactly. You're sort of dealing with arguments and maybe deciding whether to go to work or buy a paper.
Yes.
Or follow a police car.
Yes. So. Which option did you choose?
On my first one, actually, I tried to break up the arguments. I was trying to be a good citizen, but I decided not to do it as the Silver Crusader, and I ended up with a dog mess on me. I think yes, so that didn't go very well. Yes. What about you?
Well, I gave the woman a firm talking to about good manners, and I used my super strength to throw the dog into the sun. No, I went for the police car. Yes. And where was the police car heading? Hopefully not to deal with an argument about dog mess.
So
the car was parked at a crime scene. It seemed a businessman had been murdered. I quickly, my character quickly changed into his Silver Crusader gear. I seem to remember there was a phone box nearby where he could change into. We were able to find a gold medallion, possibly belonging to the victim, and I had the option to take it to the local jewelers to see if they could tell me anything about it. Instead, they tried to buy the gold medallion from me, so I kind of hit a dead end in my investigation. They couldn't really tell me anything about the gold medallion, so given that was the only real clue that I had, I didn't do that well in solving the businessman's murder, I'm afraid. But that is fine. There's a lot of cases in this book for you to investigate, and they don't all necessarily end with humiliating defeat like that. Only most of them.
Yes, only most of them. Yes.
Your choice. How did it go?
So well, after my first run through was a bit of a disaster. So after getting dog mess on me, I got a different kind of dog mess on me because some radiation dogs had escaped from were running amok in a lab, and I dealt with them quite well.
Oh yes, yeah. The radiation dogs. Yeah, fairly shortly thereafter, after I got the mess with the gold medallion, I also got the same call and toddled along to it's a local chemical plant. Where people were, I believe, performing studies on breeding dangerous radioactive dogs, just as you do.
Exactly, because at that time, radiation was the source of all superpowers and the cure for everything. In sort of the early 20th century. yes, so radiation was this magical thing that in comics that could do anything,
Yeah.
and
And
yes, but
by the time we had got to the 1980s, 1985 to be precise, we just had people in chemical plants who was going, "Hey Bill, you know what this Alsatian dog needs? More radioactivity in its teeth."
exactly, yeah, everything can be improved with radiation. That's the rule.
Yeah.
So oh yes, and oh yes, and it's like I've just seen. I can remember the illustration. I'm just looking at it. It's like a perfect comic book image of radiation because they're all being zapped by beams of radiation. I'm sure if this was in color, they'd be green beams of radiation because
Yeah.
radiation's always green.
And you've just mentioned something else, like the vast majority of the illustrations in this in Appointment with Fear are drawn in comic book style. They've got like separate panels. They kind of read like comic books themselves.
Yes, they do, which is yeah, it really fits in with the tone. So yes, you've got them being zapped, and then you've got them escaping, and then you can see their radioactive saliva. So yes, yeah. So, but I dealt with them quite well. I managed to trap them in the lab and not get anyone bitten, and so I think that was my proudest moment on my first attempt. Actually, saving people from the radiation dogs.
Yeah,
I think that was the high point of my first career.
that was definitely a very momentous moment. I remember. Did we get to sign autographs after that?
Oh yes, exactly. Yes, that was that was very good.
Because it's a slow day for being a superhero.
Exactly. So you can just bask in the adulation that people are giving you. Yes, and that led to something else because I remember, what was it? What did it lead to? The signing the autographs. I ended up fighting some fire warriors after that, but I think or was the autographs maybe there was a sweet shop robbery. So yeah, no, because you don't get to. Ah yes, no, there was a robbery at a shop.
Yeah, and we stop. The Silver Crusader stops basking in the adulation and worship of the populace. Like most superheroes do, they just kind of bask in worship and adulation and so on. Because the shoplifter, obviously,
it's got to deal with them.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, but it turned out to be a young boy who, and the shopkeeper was sort of exaggerating a bit. There's a very good image of the shopkeeper in this thought bubble of a big muscly man pointing a gun at his face. And then it turns out that actually it's not a big muscly man with a gun, it's a boy with a water pistol
who stole a chocolate bar, I think.
Exactly. It's So yes, the Silver Crusader is not exactly sort of saving the world just yet at the moment.
Not yet, but at very least he's not covered in dog mess.
That's yes. Well, yours wasn't. Mine got covered in dog mess.
Yes.
At the beginning, at least it wasn't radioactive dog mess.
No, that's a good point. So yeah, that's the end of the first day, isn't it? Because this is quite interesting. The book is divided into different days.
Yes, and you don't get provisions in this, but you restore 6 stamina points at the end of each day, which is quite a lot. Because the combats aren't that difficult. There's a few difficult ones, but not at the beginning. And so 6 stamina points is more than enough at the beginning of your quest.
See, I find that quite interesting because a lot of the Fighting Fantasy books are arranged like you're following a map. Like you're moving through a dungeon or across like a countryside, going from location to location, that kind of thing. They're structured by locations, whereas this one is structured more in terms of events that happen over the course of several days. I thought that was quite neat. What did you think?
It is, yes. It sort of breaks it up into chapters and lets you sort of have different. It means you get moved along whatever happens, which is always nice. You won't get stuck. You won't get trapped anywhere, which is a danger in some of these books, that you're sort of trapped in a cycle. But not in this one. It was very good, and it was very realistic as well, because that's how time moves.
It is, yeah. I did enjoy that. So with that, we were on to the second day.
Yes.
Where we I think did it. We got a call from a local dairy, where a chainsaw wielding murderer is on a killing spree.
Yes, that's who I went for. Chainsaw Bronski.
Yes.
Yes, I like the pictures of Chainsaw Bronski. He's stealing an old woman's purse, and then he's cutting through the bars of a bank with his chainsaw, and then he's cutting the head off a statue, just because that's what he do.
Because he's having a hard day.
Yes,
just
exactly.
Like decapitate the statue of Jeremiah Springfield, just as you do.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
So I don't know about you, but I was en route for that when I encountered a stray cat, and I'm given the option of instead taking the cat to the animal shelter. So this is an option that you're given in the book. You can stop a chainsaw wielding murderer, or help a stray cat. It's a bit weird, and it does kind of showcase that Brits have a kind of obsession with animals, that you put both of these options on the same kind of level. Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's yes, that is true. I was tempted to help the stray cat because I am a sucker for cats.
Wait, you didn't help the cat?
No, I didn't. I ended up chasing the chainsaw wielding murderer.
Stuart,
in the end.
The cat.
No, I know, I'm a monster.
What kind of monster are you? Oh my god!
I'm the sort of monster who just leaves cats to sort of make sure there's no chainsaw wielding murderers.
This is why we failed the adventure.
Exactly. Yes.
This was odd, and I kind of wonder what happens if you go down the route of saving the cat. I really do.
I could tell you because I've skipped.
Oh, did you?
Well, I did. I've peeked ahead. Do you want to know?
Yes, please do.
Well, the cat actually turns into a tiger cat. Oh, the tiger cat.
What?
It's a wicked she-villain. So it's a super villain in disguise.
What?
And she has a record of robbing dairies and fish factories. Oh, well, that makes sense because she's a cat. I guess it's the Titan City version of Catwoman.
So I'm gonna have to cut my mic now. One moment. Oh my. Okay. I'm sorry, everyone who's listening to this. I wasn't expecting that at all. Okay, so that's a thing.
That's a thing. So the version of Catwoman is Tiger Cat, who likes robbing milk and fish factories.
I'm literally just picturing. So you take the cat to the animal shelter. They put it into a pen. It transforms into Tiger Cat, and you're like, oh well, job done.
Oh no, you don't get to the animal shelter. It grows before you get there.
Well, that's just the worst type of cat. Oh dear. So yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, I took down the chainsaw wielding maniac, as you do.
Exactly.
And then you're given the option of actually going to work.
Yes. I never went to work in this book. I assume that as a superhero book, you were supposed to be a superhero, and you're not going to work.
Going to work is amazing in this book.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
So what did you do first of all? We'll do your option first, because the options you give us are just amazing at this point.
Well, so if you don't go to work, you can buy. I think you can buy your boss a gift instead.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, you have the option of, say, realizing that you're going to be late to work. And given that you didn't turn up to work at all the day before, you have the option of either going really, really, really quickly to work, like basically running there, or you have the option to waste even more time by going to the shops to buy your boss a present to apologize for being late.
Exactly.
Would that ever work?
I don't know. I've never tried it. I've never tried buying a present for being late apology tactic.
It's like, hi, Steve. I'm really sorry that the bus was about an hour late. I know it's about 5 hours, but I had to go into town to buy you this copy of Trivial Pursuit.
Exactly. Because to say sorry for being late, which I am because I bought Trivial Pursuit.
Yes. This is brilliant. I love it. And I do believe you can pick up a copy of the Warlock of Firetop Mountain as well at that point in the adventure.
Yes, yeah. If you buy a book, you can go to either the books department or the games department, and they mention the Warlock of Firetop Mountain, so they're getting a bit sort of self-referential there, a bit meta, which is quite good.
And the interesting thing is, I believe at this point you could find the Warlock of Firetop Mountain in either the book section or the game section, if I remember my history right.
Oh, well, there we go. I didn't go to the game. I got my Fighting Fantasy from the W.H. Smith, so I didn't notice it.
Oh, I don't mean in the game. I mean like in real life. I think the Warlock of Firetop Mountain board game was out by '85.
Oh, I see.
I think it was. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe if you know the exact year that the Warlock of Firetop Mountain was released as a board game, please by all means leave us a comment and let us know. I could be completely wrong. I'm probably completely wrong.
If I knew that was a board game, I would have gone to the game section as well. So I remember. Well, yes, I was buying these in sort of the early '90s when Hero Quest was on TV and someone was shouting "Fire of Wrath."
Oh yes, I remember Hero Quest.
So yes, but well, the games in the book are Trivial Pursuit or Dungeons and Dragons. Which, well, Steve Jackson and Ian Livingstone did get I think they got the European rights to distribute Dungeons and Dragons out of their small office in is it Nottingham, was it, or
I think it was. Wasn't that the shop that they set up, that little workshop of games? I can't remember. It was such a small company that like has long since been forgotten. What was it called?
Oh, it's something Mace. It was Club. It was something like that. I wonder what it's doing now. Maybe some kind of blunt object.
Yeah. We're terrible, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
So, what would you like to tell us? What happens if the Silver Crusader pops into the shops to buy his boss a board game to apologise for not going into work?
Well,
apart from getting fired the next day.
Oh yes. Well, you find some troublemakers, and you can tell they're troublemakers because they're wearing ripped jeans and dirty leather jackets.
Terrible. Why are they dressed like I was as a teenager? That's how you know they're a troublemaker.
Exactly. In fact, I don't know how they got past the pictures. One of them's got a swastika around his neck. Don't know how that got past the censors.
Just to clarify, that is not how I dressed as a teenager.
No, exactly. No, yeah, just the leather jackets and the ripped jeans. And they're causing trouble by laughing at the women's bras and holding bras up at their chests. Yes. So that's how people cause trouble in comic books.
Yeah.
And when a middle-aged woman goes to give them a piece of her mind, they turn into fire because they're the fire warriors.
Yes. As you do.
Yes.
Could you imagine if just like a group of bored teenagers are hanging out in the shops, being a bit loud, someone tells them to be quiet, and they just spontaneously burst into flames.
Exactly. I'm sure teenagers would like to. Some teenagers would have liked that power when they were teenagers. I'm sure that would have helped a lot, but unfortunately not. I think yes. Hang on. The picture's great. These pictures are great. They've got lots of details. One of them setting fire to a box, and you can't see exactly what's written on the box, but the first word begins STA, and the second word is WARR. So I'm wondering if that's a reference to a certain film series or something.
Just might be.
Did
I tell you that I actually quite like this adventure?
Yeah. Yes. Well, yeah. It's full of lovely references and fun names and things. You can tell Steve Jackson's been putting the effort in for that.
So yeah, we beat up the fire warriors.
Yes.
I got rather injured by that point, but not too badly.
No. Well, I had super strength, so I was okay.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I rolled a skill of 8, so I thought definitely super strength for this one. Yeah. So, which power did you have?
I also went for super strength.
Oh, there we go. Yes. It's the best one if you roll low for skill.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, by that point, the game told me that I was still late for work. I have no idea how that would be possible. I mean, clearly I'm perfectly on time for work. I'm several hundred miles away in a board game shop, just as you do. I completely abandoned my plan to buy my boss a copy of Hungry Hungry Hippos as an apology, and sprinted for the subway train in order to get to the office, figuring that this will be most likely to, not get me fired. The heroic actions of the Silver Crusader.
Yes. Yeah. You got it. Well, yes, it's hard. It's a hard life, isn't it? Being a superhero and trying to do a job at the same time.
We're not exactly punching out mad Norse gods, are we?
No, not in this book. No, it's all it can be quite mundane. It's more like Spider-Man because he's the sort of superhero who has these troubles, isn't he? I know he doesn't have a job, but he's always got. He's always got too much.
He's the friendly neighborhood kind of superhero, I think. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I got to the subway train. I wound up chasing a pickpocket halfway down the subway train, and by the time I got to the office, my boss screamed at me and sent me home without pay, which was a bit odd because I can understand not paying me, but then if he just sends me home, does he not need someone there to actually do some work?
Well, exactly. Who knows? Well, I guess he's doing the work. I guess.
Yeah.
He's just given up on you. He's given up on us. We're too busy frolicking around in games departments.
Understandably.
Yes.
So I was feeling a bit depressed about that. So I decided to cheer myself up by going to the local amusement park.
Yeah. So did I.
Is there anything unusual about that?
Well, there's an amusement park in the city. But apart from that, it's all good. Yeah, if you want to cheer yourself up.
I mean, I don't know about you, but when superheroes are feeling a bit depressed, a little bit down, the best thing they can do is play on the Dodgem cars.
Oh right, yeah, definitely. That's definitely that cheers up every superhero.
I just kind of picture them just kind of driving around in a circle, cape flapping behind them, cackling like a madman.
Exactly, yes, bumping into each other. That'll be in the next MCU film. It'll be in the next Avengers film, I'm sure.
This is a rather strange adventure, actually, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's kind of... Yeah, you do lots of mundane things, and then all of a sudden these crazy supervillains jump out. So, it's, Yes, because yes, you can't get away from all these crazy adventures, even though you try and have a normal life.
I mean, as normal a life as it is when you don't go into work, go to the game shop to buy a game for an apology for your manager, and then say, "Oh, I'm nuts to this. I'm depressed. I'm going to go and play on the dodgems."
Exactly. Who hasn't done that?
Who hasn't? Leave a comment if you've never done that. So how did your trip to the theme park go?
Well, I went to the fun house because one of my clues was about someone called the Scarlet Prankster.
Oh.
And I thought the fun house would be the sort of place the Scarlet Prankster would go to, who's well, I don't know why I'm saying this because everyone probably knows this already, but the Scarlet Prankster is probably based on the Joker, if anyone knows that supervillain.
No. Never.
It was a shot in the dark, maybe.
I think that would be a safe bet. And how did your trip to the fun house go? I must be honest, I didn't go to the fun house. One of the kids fell off the dodgem cars and got hurt, so I decided to finish my play at the theme park. But how did yours go?
Well, I found the Scarlet Prankster because my clue led me straight to him, and I managed to capture him.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's good. That was one of my more successful things because the villains are getting a bit more dangerous and sort of they're getting a bit more sort of more like the comic book villains rather than people with dogs who make mess on the street. They're actually proper criminals at the moment. So yes, I managed to get the Scarlet Prankster. I think there's another reason why the combat's in this. I mean, the combat wasn't that difficult for super strength, but I think the rules say that you only have to reduce them to 2 stamina points, so that makes things a bit easier.
Yeah, because you're capturing them, aren't you? I think.
Yes. So actually, you lose hero points if you actually kill them.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, you lose a hero point. Yeah, so it's actually not that difficult to capture a super villain. So I got the Scarlet Prankster, and I got 3 hero points. Oh, and I got the meeting starts at 9 a.m. I'm starting to get clues about where the meeting is going to take place.
Yeah. Well, I was also able to grab a super villain shortly thereafter. Once you leave the theme park, and I don't know if you made the same decision, the Silver Crusader on my playthrough decided to go and see the Smash Broadway musical Rats, which is currently showing in town.
Right. Well, perfect. Well, mine met a sticky end quite quickly after that because I decided to go do some more shopping because I still haven't picked up my copy of Trivial Pursuit.
Oh dear.
And I know. And then there was a van. There was a suspicious blue van that had driven off, and I decided to follow it. So I decided to follow it, and then it said, you can only follow the van if you've got super strength. And I thought, aha, I've got super strength. I'm going to follow the van. I'm going to fly after the van, and I'm going to be the one who's captured the criminal. And this will be the clue that I get for super strength because every power requires a different set of clues. Well, you think so, but then what actually happened was I followed the van and I got blasted by a laser cannon because I got caught by the supervillain, the Man Trapper, which was like, well, it definitely was a trap.
Yeah, was the laser thing in the van?
Yes. So you open the van, and then you sort of get this, the van driver who's just saying, "Oh, look, we've only got, chickens and porkies and stuff." And then you open the door, and then the laser blasts you. And that was the Man Trapper. So the Man Trapper was pretending to be some kind of butcher. So yes, I came to a quick end.
And you fell into the trap.
I did, and it was such a, well, it was quite a nasty, devious trap.
That was actually, yeah.
Yeah. Because well, it's like both a meta trap and a real trap, because I was like, I've got the super strength, I'm going to win this one, and then I got shot. So yes, you watching rats was probably a better ending to this, a better sort of evening than I had.
Well, you say that, and going to see rats definitely ages the book, doesn't it?
Yes.
So evidently I couldn't go anywhere without some kind of crime happening. So I went to see the musical. It was dreadful. A bunch of people dressed up in rats as rats were performing some variety of songs about being rats and dancing around sets made of cheese and so on. It was very, very odd. But the star of the show was almost kidnapped by a supervillain called the Serpent. Now I know, yeah.
I expect that was a relief, because then you didn't have to watch the rest of the show.
Good point. Yes. I've seen cats in the on stage once, and that's kind of enough.
Oh, fair enough. I've not seen it, and I've not seen the film, but maybe I should see it just to know what everyone says.
Yeah, it was very weird. It's essentially 2.5 hours of cats singing about being cats. They perform like one at a time and basically sing, "I am a cat, this is what I do," and they repeat that about 8, 9, 10 times, and then one of them flies off in a UFO.
Of course, that's Hawaiian musicals.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. That's simplifying it a little bit. But that's basically how it happens, and I often wish that it was punctuated by kidnappings by the Serpent. So going back to the book, we're able to find him, beat him up. He tells me of a plan to assassinate the president.
I see. Is it from a bookstore?
I'm not sure, but it's absolutely shocking, just like deadly and shocking, and I'm so horrified, I'm shaken to my core that I have to act on this tomorrow. Right now I just go right home and go to bed.
Well, yes, exactly.
Adventure cuts to the next day.
What was that thing I need to do again? Something about...
Yeah, it's like someone's only going to assassinate the president. I'm going to bed. The next day, you wake up. It's a slow day. Nothing much is happening. You suffer from some kind of amnesia about the whole presidential assassination thing. So rather than do anything, you just go into work.
Exactly. Because
I don't know. Did your playthrough go the same way at this point?
Well, while I was dead,
True.
My second playthrough, I did lots of other things, but yeah. Well, I guess it shouldn't have done. Is this what happened with JFK, where there are loads of people who actually knew he was going to get shot, but just went to work instead? Is that
I went to work just like as per a normal day. You were dead. It's just a normal day. Oh god. Did you, on your second playthrough, you got further than that though? Yes.
Yes. So so what did I do? At this time I'd found this one called Sydney Knox, because I'd picked ETS, and Sydney Knox is he was at a local nuclear power plant, because Titan City seems to have all the dangerous things in one place. It seems to be a sort of magnet for dangerous. Well, nuclear power's. Not nuclear power is not necessarily dangerous. Oh dear, I'm starting to talk about the environment now. But they put a nuclear power plant and a chemical plant and lots of other things.
Yeah, they're just kind of next to each other, just next to the Dodgem cars. Just.
Yeah. I mean, you don't even when nuclear power is being run safely, you don't normally stick it in a city. That's nuclear power 101, I think.
Well, clearly they do in Titan City.
Well, exactly. Yes. So, yeah.
And just to remind everyone, this is a fighting fantasy adventure. Oh dear. What happened the next day? I went down to the police station to ask where all the crime was, because the only other option was to go and visit my aging old aunt instead. I don't know why we're not doing anything about the threat to the president's life. That's just like forgotten about. I get to the station, talk to the officers. They tell me there was a prison break earlier, so obviously all of the villains are just like not in town or something. You know, they're not free or just like roaming the streets. There was only a prison break. So I decided I would like to go and round up all of the supervillains. But no, man turns up with at a hospital, and I'm sent to go to the hospital instead. Did you get sent to the hospital?
I didn't. In this case, no. I didn't have this path, which is good when. It's good because this book is very. There's lots of different paths, and it's almost 4 different books because you have to fight different crimes based on your power, and then you get the clues for your particular power. So, so Sydney Knox was on a completely different path.
Okay.
So I've not been to the hospital. What happened in the hospital?
Okay, so there's the hospital. You can visit the hospital because there is a man who has turned up at the hospital with some really weird hands. That's basically all you're given to go on with that. So I go to the hospital and I'm told that the man has died. Presumably from weird hand-itis, I don't know. I head to the morgue to investigate the body because obviously I'm presuming that there's some kind of storyline to this, and the body is gone.
Okay. And then you went to visit your aunt.
No, not yet. See, that's where the hospital storyline ends. I don't know if I just didn't choose the right resolution for it. But that's what happens. We forget about weird haired man, and I'm given the option to either go and see my aunt, or to go to see Georgie Boy and the Vulture Club in concert.
I see. Yeah, I get that reference.
Yes. As I was saying, some things in this book age it quite interestingly.
Yes. I guess my only guess with the Weird Hand Man was that it was one of the clues at the beginning, because Steve Jackson tells you to subtract a number from a paragraph, and you just didn't know what the clue was about Weird Hand Man.
Yeah, I think that's likely it. So I could go and see not Boy George in concert, but I instead decide to go and see my aunt. Just completely forgetting all of the other plot lines that are going on at this point.
Well, there's a international terrorist organisation on the loose, and the president's going to be assassinated. But your aunt really needs to be, she really needs to get visited, doesn't she? She's missing you.
Yes. See, the thing is, that's where my adventure ends.
Oh,
that's my adventure ends. I catch the bus over to my aunt's neighborhood, where I'm promptly mugged by a bunch of thugs. I decide I'd rather like to kind of beat them up, but in doing so, one of them manages to look at my driver's license, which I'm carrying around with me while I'm in full superhero costume. They realize the identity of the Silver Crusader. Shortly thereafter, my secret identity becomes public knowledge, and I have to retire from my life of superhero-ness, which never happens to Tony Stark, but there you go.
Well, no, not in the MCU movies. He just tells everyone straight away, and then just he runs with it. He's he works it, Tony Stark. He really does.
So that's how my fortuitous playthrough ends. I don't save the president's life or anything, or even follow that up. I don't understand what is wrong with the weird vanishing man's hands, and I never get to see Boy George in concert. But worst of all, I never managed to catch the second act of Rats.
Oh no. Yes, it's just one disappointment after another. Well, yes. Well, my second one ended with F.E.A.R blowing up. F.E.A.R blowing up Titan City, basically, because I didn't have all the clues. If I was playing fairly, I didn't have all the clues. I found the address. The pickpocket on the subway train seems to have a huge number of clues about F.E.A.R's location, for being a pickpocket on a subway train.
As you
and
do.
then, well, exactly, yes. So I got out all the numbers apart from one. Well, yeah. So F.E.A.R blew up Titan City. If I was playing fairly, if I was cheating, I remembered that it was the Avenue number, so I managed to get there in the end. But yes, I didn't do that. But if these muggers find your identity, it implies that you live a long time as not the Silver Crusader. So maybe somehow, by some weird chance of chaos theory or something, your identity being revealed has stopped the F.E.A.R organization blowing up Titan City.
I guess it must do. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
It must be. It's like a what if episode of the Silver Crusader.
This is a very very strange adventure. So you kind of you weren't able to get like a legit finishing of it either, were you?
I wasn't. No, it's quite a narrow path to take because you've got to collect about 4 different clues and a special item, the circuit jammer, to actually defeat the titanium cyborg. And yes, and it's very well designed in the sense that your superpower determines the clues that you need to get, but you don't really know what to do, where to go to get the correct clues. I remembered ETS. I played with ETS ages ago, like years ago, and it still sticks with me. So that's how I remembered what to do to go to Sydney Knox and to capture the pickpocket. But yes, I couldn't remember one of the other clues, so I failed. Well, also with my ETS, I failed to stop the shark on Starker's Beach, which is a great name. There were shark attacks happening at the beach, which I'm sure.
Yeah, I had no idea that was a plot line as well.
Oh yeah, it was. You get the option of. I can't remember where you get the option of going there because it's quite intricate, but it's. Well, I'm sure everyone can guess what that's based on.
Maybe.
The shark managed to wound me 4 times, so I failed in saving a child from being attacked by it. So,
this is one of the things I find quite interesting is that Appointment with F.E.A.R does feel like a compilation of many different like little adventures.
Yes, it is. It's like every day is its own little adventure, and wherever you go, you will find an adventure, which is and there's lots of variety going on. They sort of stuck they sort of stuck a lot of references to pop culture media, and in the case of the president, sort of recent history, and sort of stuck it all in one city, and you can choose lots of different adventures to have. So it is.
You can go to the theme park.
Yeah, you can watch the football game.
You can visit your aunt.
You can visit your aunt. Yes, possibly. Maybe she's a villain as well. You never know.
The thrilling, exciting life of a superhero.
Oh dear, yes, it's and then everywhere you go, there's some kind of criminal act going on. So I think I visited the museum and I went to the wrong place, but I think there's a mummy that sort of attacks you as well if you go to the right place in the museum.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so there's lots going on.
Right. Well, let's. We've. I think overall we're quite positive on appointment with F.E.A.R then, aren't we?
Yes, we are. Yeah. No, it's great. I mean, it'd be a great time to come up with a sort of 21st century version now that there's lots more superhero sort of pop culture going on. There's a whole world of extra references to sort of go on, because yes, I mean, this is all based on sort of very 80s and 70s and 60s type stuff. So
I think I definitely agree. I would very much like to see a modern reworking of this one.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant.
What do we think? Appointment with F.E.A.R 2, rescheduled appointment.
Yes.
Delayed appointment. Rebooking with F.E.A.R. So let's give appointment with F.E.A.R a mark, shall we?
Yes. Shall I go first?
You go first.
I'll go first. I'll give it a 4 because I love the design of it. It's very well designed. Steve Jackson's managed to give sort of 4 adventures in one and have lots of little adventures, and I love the references. We haven't done all the references. I mean, there's one bit where you've either got to go to Parker Airport or Peter Street or something, and there's lots of other references there. So it's
I will also give it a 4 because I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Oh, there we go. That's 8 out of 10 then.
8 out of 10. Yeah, 8 out of 10 for Appointment with F.E.A.R.
Awesome. Yes. Yeah. Pick it up at your local book and/or game shop.
I mean, you might need to use eBay to grab a copy of it now, but do pick it up wherever you can. And with that, this has been the podcast from Firetop Mountain.
That's indeed. It's been awesome. Thank you very much.
What do we have on for next week?
Next week's one of my choices, and it's a bit experimental. It's got a lot of things going on that aren't in other fighting fantasy books. It's the Crimson Tide. So yes, sort of experimental with the rules, and also a bit sort of screwy with your mind if you go certain paths as well. So it's.
So join us next week for
podcast of Firetop Mountain.
Yeah, well, I was hoping you were going to say the Crimson Tide in a suitably dramatic manner there.
Oh, sorry. Should we do that again?
Yes. Okay. Don't worry. We'll edit this out. I will not edit this out. So join us next week for
the Crimson Tide.
There we go. Oh dear. So yes, this has been the podcast from Firetop Mountain. I'm Alison Cybe. This is Stuart Lloyd, and we will see you next week. Thank you for joining us. The podcast from Firetop Mountain is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Be sure to like, comment and subscribe, ring the bell and do all the other things you need to do in order to get another season of the podcast from Firetop Mountain.